So her record is his record.
Well, they work together.
That's all you need, President Trump. Just run on the record.
I agree. Look at the largest investment in infrastructure since Eisenhower, largest investment in fighting climate change in world history, and as we mentioned, capping insulin at $35 a month for seniors on Medicare. If you want that to be her record, I'm there.
Nothing remotely close to that took place. So here we go. Piers Morgan, uncensored with Piers, Tyrus, and Harry Sisson, discussing Biden dropping out, Harris stepping up, and Trump. The whole thing is absurd. Harry Sisson comes out acting like Biden's record is something to boast about. The biggest investment in infrastructure, addressing environmental issues, a cap on insulin at $35. Look around. Prices are out of control. Gas is hitting everyone hard, and Harry Sisson's trying to sell us this fantasy. It's laughable. Now, Kamala's supposed to campaign on that, seriously? Infrastructure with no visible results? Environmental policies that accomplish nothing, and an insulin cap that barely scratches the surface for anyone not on Medicare. They're using the same strategy. Highlight a couple of nice-sounding items and ignore everything else. Harry Sisson's just another voice in a long line of people acting like everything's smooth sailing, but we all know the reality. Stick around because Tyrus and Piers are about to dive into it. And trust me, you don't want to miss this.
Well, joining me now is the former professional wrestler and Fox News contributor Tyrus and TikTok influencer Harry Sisson. Well, welcome to both of you. Harry, I want to start by playing a little clip of you last time you appeared on my show. Who do you think the two nominees will be in the end, and who will win?
Yeah, it's going to be Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, and then Joe Biden's going to win. And Piers, I'd love to chat with you after the election.
You've made a few dollars, Harry, so why don't we have a little wager? $10,000 to a charity of your choice. I say Biden can't possibly win. You think he can?
I personally don't bet on politics. I'm happy to have another bet to do something with charity. We can do something, absolutely no problem.
But you wouldn't put your money where your mouth is on Biden, then?
I don't bet on politics.
Well, I saved you $10,000 there, Harry, with your refusal to accept the bet, obviously. Welcome to back to Uncensored. I mean, you were completely wrong. Not only did Biden not stay in the race, but he certainly won't be president again. So do you accept you were completely wrong?
Yeah, I think I was going based off of publicly available information. All of the information available was that Joe Biden was staying in. He consistently told reporters he was staying in. He said, I'm the guy. And then he huddled with advisors in Delaware, saw the data, said it wasn't looking good, and made the honorable decision to bow out.
But with respect, why would a young, dynamic guy like you, how old are you?
21.
You're 21, so you're 60 years younger than Joe Biden.
That's right.
Right? It was blatantly obvious to everybody that Biden was done, especially after the debate. Why would you continue to pretend that he wasn't?
Because I look at the record, I'm always of the view that achievements and policy matters more than like this talk we have in the media of, oh, Biden's this, oh, Biden's that. I've met the man as well. I've talked to him. He was fantastic. He was sharp. I had questions.
When was that?
That was in May.
He was sharp?
Yeah.
How sharp?
Very sharp. He answered my questions.
Around that time, he was falling off stages, he was face planting, he was tumbling
face planting. I mean,
tumbling down the steps of Air Force One, falling off bicycles. He was saying all sorts of gobbledygook in statements which the White House had to rewind. So how sharp was he?
I mean, he was great. I gave him questions he didn't have beforehand. He answered them in depth, and we had a conversation after the cameras were turned off. I had no problems then. I had no problems now. I still think Joe Biden is fit to serve. If he were the candidate, I'd still think he's fit to serve.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, Tyrus. Joe Biden is still fit to serve. I mean, the guy I watched last night doing this national address, I'm sorry, I felt it was really sad. It was elder abuse.
I think at this point, we're arguing about the wrong thing. Whether he's fit to serve or not fit to serve, history was made in the sense that the donors basically said no more money.
Right.
And they don't do that because they think, oh, the polling shows you're down this month. So the ugliness of this is that Joe Biden's legacy is going to be affected because of what happened. The policies and stuff that we're running historically didn't ever fit Joe, which people raise their eyebrows to. And then you're seeing all this cover up of how sharp he was, and that's a interesting word because it's used a lot. And I always find when different people all use the same word, it's a talking point. And that's the problem. We need to get away from talking points. I'm glad that he stepped down because I took no joy in criticizing speeches from somebody who was doing the best they could. And he probably has moments where he's brilliant, but that's the ugliness of aging, that one day everything's going great.
Yeah.
And it's happened to us all. Like one day, like wrestling, I'm throwing guys around, and one day I'm a step slow. It happens. And you'll have good days and you have bad days. And that's great in any other profession but being the president of the United States and basically the policeman of the world.
You know, what I was struck by Harry last night was he kept talking about, you know, the threat to democracy and the importance of honesty and integrity in public life and so on. But then he said this about passing the torch. Let's listen to this clip.
I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation.
No, I'm sorry, Harry. That was just a blatant lie. He didn't decide it was time to pass the torch only the day before he quit. He was absolutely gung-ho. I'm going to be running. I'm going to be president. I'm going to win 4 more years, blah, 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 blah. Even in the speech last night, he said he thinks he still has it in him to do another term of office. But that's not what happened. What happened was the Democrat grandees, Barack Obama, the Clintons, Chuck Schumer, Hollywood stars like George Clooney penning op-ed pieces in newspapers and so on, they all collaborated with the donors, as Tyrus said, who yanked the money, to torch him. He was torched by his own side. That's what happened, isn't it?
I mean, I think it's a combination of things. I think that there was obviously concern among party elites, you might call them. I don't know if that's the word.
But there was a concern. There was a poll came out on Sunday morning saying he was 7 points down in Michigan.
Right.
As Frank Luntz said, one of the 3 crucial swing states. And at that point, bang, the rope was pulled, right?
But it's also it was also his decision. He could have stayed in the race and said, like, I'm the nominee. I got the votes. I won the primary. I'm going to get the delegates. I'm going to be the nominee. But he looked at the data and made the honorable decision, said, no, I'm not going to.
But is he that honorable to do it now? I mean,
It sounds great, but let's be honest. Nancy Pelosi walked in and said, we can do it.
The easy way or the hard way?
The hard way was Article 25.
You know what it was like? Goodfellas, one of my favourite films, right? And I happen to know Joe Pesci very well through golf. So it's the scene where Joe Pesci thinks he's going to be the made man.
Yes.
Right? And the whole build-up, goes thing, and he goes in and they whack him, right? I think that's what happened with Joe Biden on Sunday.
I think to say that it's like, oh, it's not honorable because it's taking place now, I think is a little bit disingenuous.
Well, I only say that because the other 2 Democrat incumbent presidents since World War II who have resigned in election year and decided not to vote did it massively earlier in the process, did it at the start of the year, which gave their replacement the chance to really build proper momentum. By giving Kamala Harris only 4 months, you know, it could end up being, we don't know yet, and she might well turn it around and she might win. So let's put that caveat there. But if she was to lose quite badly, you could look back at it and say that had he pulled out a lot earlier, it would have given her a better chance.
But I think we can both agree that the political circumstances back then with like a Lyndon Johnson was different than now, right? The reason it's happening now.
Well, not really. In his case, it was the Vietnam War had made him very unpopular.
Right.
So they thought he would lose.
Right.
Here, Joe Biden's physical and cognitive state made him increasingly unpopular. And despite all the achievements that people like you queue up to tell us he made, and I'm not disputing some of them are genuine achievements, but his approval rating's at 37%. I keep hearing this week, he's the greatest president of modern times. Why is he so unpopular then? Why is people not just literally, why are there not parades in the streets for the greatest president of all time? Well, it's 37% approval.
We know the reason. Historically, the American people will blame the commander-in-chief for things that are often out of their control. So inflation and gas prices, I think anybody who's honest will recognize that Joe Biden obviously didn't cause those things.
Let's cut the nonsense. Harry Sisson, the TikTok guy, was way off last time he was on Piers Morgan Uncensored. He predicted Biden would beat Trump. And yet here we are. Biden didn't even stay in the race. Now Harry Sisson's doing what he does best, coming up with excuses. Oh, Biden reviewed the data and made an honorable call. Sure, the donors saw the numbers and yanked their support. Let's call it what it is. Piers rightfully challenged Harry Sisson on this whole idea that Biden is a sharp. Really, Harry? Sharp. The man's been stumbling through speeches, barely able to keep it together. Tyrus even said watching him try to function was hard to watch. Harry Sisson sticks to his talking points, claiming Biden was great when they met. Great? He could barely stand by midsummer. Now we're supposed to buy into the notion that Kamala can pick up where Biden left off. Sure, let's see how that goes. Piers also pointed out that Biden didn't pass the torch. He was pushed out by his own party. The big names, Obama, the Clintons, the donors, they all decided it was time. But Harry Sisson's still pretending Biden made a noble choice. Come on. Tyrus nailed it. This isn't about Biden's legacy. It's about the Democrats scrambling to save face after realizing their guy was tanking. They had no choice but to force him out. It's obvious, but Harry Sisson continues to defend it. Let me know your thoughts. Do you buy this, or is Harry Sisson just following the narrative?
But those things are global factors. Inflation spiked in Great Britain at the same time.
Donald Trump didn't cause all the financial problems in his final year, but it was the pandemic.
I agree, and I wouldn't blame him for that.
Democrats, Tyrus, from memory, queued up to blame him.
The first day he got in office and shut down the oil pipe, he hit the green light for Russia and China. He changed the dynamic of the oil. When he who controls the oil controls the way things go. So he made a lot of, but again, I don't believe that these policies were Joe Biden's. I believe that the real issue is that whether it was Kamala Harris or whomever made decisions and the president wasn't unable to. And we saw that. The debate is the reason why he's out. They pulled the money and they said enough. Here's the part. Barack Obama, he is a constitutionalist to the 10th power. Like so he won't endorse. And I don't think his endorsement is based off, he doesn't think she can win like those reports are. I think he doesn't like the way the process was. I think we're seeing a split.
There are reports today. So just before we came on air,
there's two reports, and you can have the same thought on the same thing. He can say he doesn't think she could win, and he can also endorse her.
Yeah, I think he will endorse. I mean, the idea that Barack Obama is not going to endorse
that speaks volumes.
A black woman
who is
the nominee.
But in defense of him, I think he's looking at, he doesn't like the process. I think he wanted an open debate.
And would that have been better for the Democrats, do you think?
I think it would have been better in terms of showing Kamala doing her own thing. Because the Republican side, we've made huge mistakes, and I thought it wasn't possible. I thought, after the assassination attempt, after the speech, but literally the VP pick didn't help. Talking about her as a woman, whether she has children or not, moronic and stupid. I don't know why the Republican Party politicians seem to think the answer to getting votes is telling women what and not to do with their body. That's stupid. Like, we had a 40-point lead.
Hang on, you're agreeing with each other.
I'm agreeing with what you're saying right now.
It's not hard. Like, listen, I'm not a tent guy. I'm too big for that shit. You know that. So I call balls and strikes, and we were sitting in a great position, and now no one's going to talk about the fact that Biden's policies weren't his, or investigating who was doing what and what was Jill's role and who's this role. Now we're going to be talking about Trump insulting a woman.
Yeah.
So you literally, all the work, we've got this huge lead. And if we just stuck to policy and deeds and let them call him a felon, and because Americans, when they call him that, they respond with what? They send more money.
I agree.
Insult the person.
There's a new campaign ad out on behalf of Kamala Harris. Let's take a look at this.
In this election, we each face a question. What kind of country do we want to live in? There are some people who think we should be a country of chaos, of fear, of hate. But us, we choose something different. We choose freedom.
Freedom, freedom, I can't move. Freedom, cut me loose.
You know, Harry, my mother, who's just turned 80, very youthful, glamorous 80, I might add, but she messaged me yesterday saying, what do you think of Kamala Harris? She seems to have added a lot of energy to this race, which I thought was a really interesting observation. Whether you like her, don't like her, agree with her, don't agree with her, there's unbelievable amount of new energy in this Democrat side of the race, because she is 20 years younger than Biden, obviously on her game. She's smart, she's presentable, she's good on TV, she's galvanizing people, the money's pouring in and so on. Do you believe, though, that once that honeymoon period inevitably quietens down and there's a more forensic analysis of her record, do you worry that she is too far left in her record to actually avoid Trump stomping all over politically?
If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps out with the algorithm. Let's jump back in, because things are about to get interesting.
Not at all. I think that the idea that she's just like this progressive liberal who only sides with progressives and doesn't reach across the aisle is nonsense. I mean, she's been part of the Biden administration.
She was rated more left than Bernie Sanders.
I mean, I think that if we actually look at the policy on an individual level, that's not the case. Bernie Sanders is like for Medicare for all. Kamala Harris has never endorsed such system. So I think we actually have to look at the policy, and that tells a different story. But her record is certainly not a progressive one in the sense that it's like a Bernie Sanders kind of policy. She was a district attorney, a prosecutor. She sent people to jail. She's definitionally in favor of the rule of law.
She also wanted to defund the police. That's not great.
She's never come out and said, let's defund the police.
She effectively did.
well, effectively and saying are two different things.
Okay, I mean, look, the other thing she was she was clearly billed as the immigration border czar,
Right, well-
Tyrus, which they're now trying to deny ever calling him, but it's a brilliant thing I saw. I think it was Newsbusters did it, or somebody did it. They did a mashup of all the people on the left saying, well, they never called her the border czar.
Right.
Now you have them all calling her the border czar. And that's been
gold.
a disaster.
That is gold, and that should be on every campaign ad with Republicans. But as soon as we stop talking about policy and get it, because Kamala's going to want a street fight, because Trump will beat her up in a street fight, and he will say all kinds of stuff that we'll be like, oh, that's hilarious, and independents will be like, oh, that's not okay.
Yeah.
So they want a street fight.
I agree.
And if it's hard,
She's already goading it.
and she's hit me. It's
Yes,
not, let's go.
It really
Please
is.
hit me.
It literally
Hit
is
me.
hands down.
I dare you. I
Come on.
dare you.
Come after
Make
the-
comments
come after
about
a
me
black
out of
woman
over.
if you want. Yeah.
because it's going to look bad. But
Yeah.
if he doesn't take the bait like he did, he showed great restraint in the Biden debate. He could have attacked him. We went at him. He made the one comment, which I thought for him was he showed great restraint. He was compassionate even in the sense that he didn't go after him or make fun of him, which would have been a horrible mistake. And if he goes in a debate with Kamala and starts calling her dumb or even horrible women, it's going to be a mistake. Policy. That's what the American people want to hear. We're tired of it, and you can't run one side's deceiving and not doing what they need to do.
Why are you shaking your head?
Because we win on policy. Like I want it to be a policy conversation.
I'll take that bet.
I agree. I think we're the party of pro-choice. We're the party of capping insulin at $35 a month. We're the party of fighting climate change. We're the party of investing in infrastructure. So I want a policy conversation.
When does
because
that
the
insulin
Republicans will
kick in?
lose.
Because I have a type 1 diabetic at home, and I'm still waiting
For seniors on
my
Medicare?
35.
Well, Joe Biden's trying to, I guess it's going to be Kamala Harris as the nominee, wants to expand it to all Americans, not just seniors on Medicare. That's our agenda. I think
So her
more
record
Americans
is his
agree with
record.
that. Well, they work together. It's a
That's
team.
all you need, President Trump. Just run on the record.
I agree. Look at the largest investment in infrastructure since Eisenhower, largest investment in fighting climate change in world history, and as we mentioned, capping insulin at $35 a month for seniors on Medicare. If you want that to be her record, I'm there.
That's far from the truth. Harry Sisson is out here repeating the usual list. Biden and Harris are the champions of infrastructure, the environment, and healthcare caps. But we all know the full picture. Every time they bring up these so-called successes, they conveniently ignore the real issues. Runaway inflation, rising crime, and let's not forget the situation at the border. Hawaiians received a couple $1,000s in aid while people crossing without authorization get set up in hotels. How does any of that make sense? But Harry Sisson, he keeps pushing this narrative like everything's just fine. It's always the same. Pick a few good things and avoid the real problems. Harry Sisson's here playing the same role. At this point, I'm not sure if he believes it or if he's just following orders. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is Harry Sisson uninformed or is something else at play here? And what's your take on what Tyrus, Harry Sisson, and Piers discussed on Piers Morgan Uncensored? Let's chat in the comments. Catch you next